fuck did we do that before?
Fuck knows. But once again, Rab's got a face full of bush. Okay, we're amongst the buttercups today.
Let's muscle up, buttercup.
It's only way I can prove it without moving the camera, right?
Hey!
I thought you were going to just go, I was ready for it. Right, it's time for another
Mindset.
Buttercup Day.
We need a new way of saying mindset.
I know. Today's episode is all about meditation.
Meditation. I feel like actually there's quite a lot of sky above us.
It's because of this day.
Can we just point that camera down slightly? There you go, that's better.
Welcome back. So different forms of meditation, how you can implement them in your lives and the benefits, really.
Yeah, so meditation is one of those tools that so many people across the globe use, and some highly successful people swear by it. Okay, now whether it's helping you to be more productive, more mindful, or just generally a happier person, it is a tool that is well worth experimenting with and putting into practice if you don't do so already.
So some of the benefits, I mean, sometimes you would use meditation for either working through a problem or maybe to be creative. You know, you tap into the subconscious to try and ask it a question. It's like, oh, where are we going to take the Kilted Coaches? I know, we're going to take them in a field full of buttercups and do a video meditation.
Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down?
I knew that was I did deserve that, to be fair.
So, the subconscious mind is something we've touched on many times before, but if you haven't heard of it, the subconscious is responsible for 95% of the things that we do. Whether you believe it's your conscious mind or not, there's studies being done on the brain scans and whatnot, and the subconscious has generally already made its mind up before you're aware of it. So to tap into that is very powerful, and you should always have an open line of communication with the subconscious and the conscious minds. Okay, now that's a whole other subject, far too in-depth for this video. However, just appreciate how powerful the subconscious mind actually is.
And tapping into that is through meditation. It's very relaxing, or it can be. There's different ways of doing it, and there's some methods of meditation that you probably wouldn't even realise you were meditating.
Yeah.
Okay, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so Bruce Lee is, he's a big kind of favourite of ours. Bruce Lee was, sorry, I'll just cut this bit. Whoever's editing this one, I've scratched my balls.
I'm so going to leave that
in. Right, start one again. So, scratching your nose now. So Bruce Lee is a big favourite of ours. And now Bruce Lee was famous for his movies, for his kung fu, and but he was actually a philosopher as well. Now, he would talk about meditation, but he didn't like the traditional form of meditation when you sit in a dark room, you cross your legs and you say, home. He preferred to do it via his kata. A kata is the sort of movements that he does. All slow motion sort of movements. So he knew those katas like the back of his hand, so he didn't really have to think about them very much. Therefore, he could do these katas. His conscious mind didn't have to think about the movements because he did them so regularly that the subconscious mind could then take over. Okay, so he got his meditation through movement.
Basically put himself into a trance state by repeating it over and over.
Exactly.
And allowed the subconscious to kind of take control of the...
Exactly. Now, you say that you do a similar thing when you're running.
Yeah, I quite like, when I'm running, I like to switch off. That's why, for me, I don't like to run anywhere that I'd have to think. And by that, I mean, I don't like any main roads or roads I have to cross. Now, the particular run that I do, there are 2 roads I need to cross right at the beginning, and then I just switch off. And the rest of the way around, I know I've got a safe run that I don't even need to think about traffic. And by not having to think, it just allows my subconscious to come to the forefront and either work through a problem or be creative or just explore other possibilities in general.
So there's always a kind of a crossover point through meditation. You can also say it's a bit of a reflection or self forward projecting. You know, people would say it's all one and the same thing. Others say it would be different things. ultimately what we're asking you to do here is just get into your mind, allow yourself to switch off and explore what comes up in your mind. Okay, so when you're meditating, so there's lots of forms of meditation. Okay, so the form that I like to do is when you do sit down. It's called transcendental meditation. So there's courses that you can do on this. It's a bit of a kind of cult thing when you get into it, so I'm totally not into that, but you can learn how to do it online. You don't have to join these groups, and it's absolutely fine. So transcendental meditation is when you get a word. This word doesn't mean anything at all, and you repeat it over and over and over again, and you get to a point where you don't have to think about repeating it. And when I say repeating it, it's in your mind. You don't have to say it out loud, you just repeat it again and again in your head. Now, meditation, to say, is that whole thing where you try to switch off by saying the same word over and over again, or going running. Now, thoughts will naturally pop into your head. That might be family matters, it might be something to do with work, it could be what you want for your dinner, it could be absolutely anything. Meditation is the act of pushing those thoughts back out of your brain again. So when you get a conscious thought, recognise that it's there, thank yourself for it, okay? Thanks for the thought, and then just push it to one side and then start going back into what you were doing already, whether it be repeating a word, focusing on your breath, just out running. Just go back into what you were doing and just try to empty your mind completely. That act of forcing the thought away again and always returning back to your mantra, that's what strengthens the subconscious and the conscious mind together.
Sometimes with meditation, you might not know why you want to meditate. You just know that you feel you have to. Other times you might go in with a question. It might be, if you have an event coming up, a lot of athletes, boxers especially, they'll visualise the fight, and particularly when they're skipping or shadow boxing, they'll practice their combination routines, things that come second nature, and it puts them into a trance state, and they visualise the fight, and they meditate into that zone to kind of put themselves in a place, so they're kind of rehearsing it over and over. Sometimes it might just be a question, or you might have something on your mind, an issue that you haven't quite worked through, and for whatever reason you haven't worked out the answer, but it's still bothering you. By tapping into the subconscious before you start meditating, you basically keep that at the forefront of your mind. You think, right, okay, I'm having a problem with this, and then you go into your meditative state, depending on which method you choose, and in the hope, there's no guarantees, but in the hope that your subconscious is then going to solve that problem for you. Yeah.
Having faith that your subconscious knows the answer, and it does. They say that your human brain takes in absolutely every single bit of information that you've ever come in experience with. Okay, so that is music that was playing while you were in your mother's womb. Okay, that could be a conversation going on in a coffee shop that you weren't actually listening to. So there's loads and loads of things going into your brain the whole time, and your subconscious retains every single bit of that information. So to tap into that is so powerful. Yeah. Have you ever watched the film Limitless?
Yeah.
Great film, but obviously he uses a pill and he taps into the subconscious, and he knows all this kind of stuff that he didn't know before. He uses his brain to its full potential. Mm-hmm. Really, that's what we're talking about here. It just takes a little bit more work than swallowing a pill.
Yeah.
Where was that going? Scratching my balls again.
I'm going to leave that in too.
So going into these meditative states, although you're looking for an answer to a particular question that your subconscious does know, don't think about it. Okay, that defeats the purpose of tapping into the subconscious. So if you want to try to get to the bottom of maybe an awkward situation at work, for instance, go into a meditative state, whether it be out running, doing a kung fu kata,
driving sometimes,
yeah. Or actually going and meditating. Sitting cross-legged in a dark room, close your eyes, and get into a meditative state with that question, having asked yourself at the start of it. But then don't think about the answer. Don't try to think through the answer.
Because then you might get emotionally involved and bring your conscious self back into the mix.
That's all the conscious mind doing the work. Tap into the subconscious by completely ignoring your thoughts and just kind of repeating a mantra or running or driving or whatever that might be, and the answer will come to you.
Build it and they will come. So meditation is very, very useful for relaxing the mind, de-stressing. You might not know why you're stressed, but just taking some time out to meditate can just sometimes either solve a said problem and therefore the stress goes away, or it just allows your body to relax and your mind to just take a bit of time out.
Yeah. It allows you to live in the moment. So they say there's two main problems that the modern society suffer from, and that's anxiety and depression. Now they say depression is being stuck in the past, and anxiety is being stuck in the future. Okay, so you're constantly, if you're depressed, you're constantly thinking about the things that had happened to you in your brain, whether it be conscious or subconscious. You're constantly in the past and all these things that have happened to you or to someone you loved or whatever it might be. Or anxiety, when you're constantly thinking about what's about to come, thinking about the future. So meditation allows you to live in the moment, and they say that there is no past, there is no future. There's only now. There's only a bunch of nows stacked on top of each other. So meditation allows you to live right here. And whatever happened in the past or whatever you may think could happen in the future doesn't really matter, because it's not real. It's just a thought. So meditation allows you to live in the moment, pushing all that to one side, and you'll find that the more you get into meditation, and it takes practice, don't get me wrong, it takes practice, but the more you do it, the more you'll start to live your life in the moment. And that is the key to happiness.
So find which meditation technique works for you. For me personally, I find it very difficult to sit down in a quiet room and quiet my thoughts that way. That's why I choose to go running or do it when I'm driving on a route that I know. Skipping does it for me as well. It's an automatic kind of movement that you then zone out. Yep. But for me, I really notice the benefits when I'm out running. I go into that state and then it's amazing what you get done.
Whereas I prefer the transcendental meditation, where you just sit down and repeat the same mantra over and over and over again in your head, allowing thoughts to come in, pushing them away again, coming back to the mantra all the time. Really strengthens up the mind for that particular action. Helps you focus, helps keep you mindful.
There is no tomorrow. I wanted to say that when you mentioned the anxiety thing. I was like, there is no tomorrow. Rocky 3, right?
Yep.
He's banging his fists against the mirror.
Do it again tomorrow.
There is no...
So if you've done meditation before, if you've done it yourself, please let us know what type of meditation you prefer, your experience with it.
Especially if there's any techniques, because there's lots of techniques out there, and maybe some of our other subscribers who read the comments, some of the comments, would maybe want to hear different techniques. If you've got some techniques you're willing to share, put them in the comments.
Yep, and if you've never tried meditation before, and after watching this video you think, I'm going to give this a try, highly recommend it, definitely do it, but let us know how you get on. Okay, come back onto this video and just leave us a comment telling us your own experience.
There is no tomorrow.